Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our PK20 data in MISchoolData. Today's focus is on curriculum counseling and post-secondary connections. We are very excited to share with you a lot of resources that are out there in the MISchoolData portal. I'm joined today by Dr. Rhonda Provost and Christy Martin. If you want to join us in the slide deck, feel free to grab that tiny URL and jump on to the slide deck. You will have access to these resources after today. So thank you everybody for being with us, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I mentioned that I am joined today by Rhonda and Christy. Three of us round out our ISD leadership team, and this is part of a statewide webinar series that we have been running for most of the school year. We are excited to let you know that we will continue through the summer and into the fall, and glad to be a part of this and providing professional development across the state with regards to the portal. If you have questions about any of the content you see today, we do have a regional advisory statewide network that supports the professional development in MISchoolData. Based on your region in the state, you can identify who your leads are and shoot them an email and find out what's happening regarding PD in your own region. We're going to get started by talking a little bit about the MISchoolData portal itself. Our learning objectives for today's session are: we want you to know what's in the portal, how to navigate around in there, what are the contents of the portal, understand the types of data that are there, not only for counselors, but also PK20 data from career technical ed to early childhood to post-secondary. A lot of great data sets in there if you are wearing any of those hats. We're also going to push you to make connections to the data sets that we share with you, thinking about how you might use that in your own professional practice. And then we're going to encourage you to take what you learned today and transfer it into your own local planning. So if you have not used the MISchoolData portal before, it is the Michigan official source for PK20 data. There are lots of different levels of data sets, right down to the student level, all the way up to there's workforce, there's post-secondary, career technical ed, achievement, demographic, all kinds of data sets that are in there. And they come from a variety of sources. Lots of great acronyms in education, the FID, the GAD, the EEM, etc. But a lot of those resources all feed into the MISchoolData portal. There's a lot of different ways to look at the data also. In the portal, you'll see there's graphs, there are tables, lots of great ways to view the different graphs in trends or etc. So just a lot of different ways a lot of different sources for data, as well as a lot of ways for you to view the data. As I mentioned, there are a lot of sources that pull into the MISchoolData portal. If you are not familiar with Center for Education, Performance, and Information, they are the responsible ones for the MISchoolData portal. That is their baby. And they work collaboratively with a lot of state organizations and state programs to pull the information in. Today's session is all about PK20 data connections, and you are going to see that we have anywhere from birth to age 5 early childhood information all the way up to the college level, and we will do our very best to show you what is public and what is secure behind that secure login and help you find what it is that you're looking for. So if you are a secure user, you have access all the way to the student level, depending on the permissions that you are afforded. You will see that a lot of the information that we share with you today is public out there on the publicly available side by just going to MISchooldData.org. If you need to get to the student level, we encourage you to create a login on the MISchoolData portal where with My Login Third Party, and we'll show you how to do that. Now, the My Login third party is different than the My Login. It's different than the campground reservations or how you would renew your driver's license. We are actually looking at My Login for third party. That is where you create your login or you request a login. And then the second step is to reach out to your ISD or Educational Service Center to have them activate you in the MISchoolData portal. So 2 steps, and those are outlined here in our slide deck. The last thing that I'll mention with regard to your login and your privileges is there are a lot of data sets here. If you are wearing the counselor hat or you are wearing the curriculum director hat or special education director, there are a lot of secure and sensitive permissions that can be turned on the backside for you. So the best case scenario would be to reach out to your intermediate school district technical contact to find out what permissions should be enabled for you and then have that conversation. A lot of great resources there, just need to make sure we turn them on. Once you come into the homepage of the MISchoolData portal, you'll notice across the top that there are connections, education maps, support, and sign in. The connections will actually show you a list of all the other tools or apps or resources that are available to you. The sign in spot is actually where you could go to request your login for My Login Third Party. A new feature that has been rolled out in the new MISchoolData portal is the education map. If you are just starting your tour and trying to figure out information about the school district or a school or entity, you can start with that education map, which is also across the top of our homepage, and just key in the school district, and you'll see the map populated by lots of graduation caps. Those graduation caps each represent a school entity. And once you narrow your focus down to that school, you'll have all kinds of fast facts, related locations, explore and compare, a lot of different opportunities to dig further after you locate your school on the education map. And lastly, one of the new features that has rolled in the new portal is the support resources. The support resources allow you to search just like you would in a Google search, and there are also glossary of vocabulary terms. So from the legacy site to the new redesigned MISchoolData, there are a lot of great features and resources that have been rolled out. We'll dig into those further here as we continue our tour, but for that, I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda, who's going to take us into a little deeper dive in the features and navigation. Dr. Provost?
Thank you, Jen. So first, we're going to share with you the quick homepage overview. This is a 2-page document. We have a link to this resource at the bottom left-hand corner. And basically what it provides you with is an overview of all of those menu options. There's little call outs there that will give examples of what it represents. And it'll also share with you any of the new information that's from the homepage. For example, what reports have been updated. If you're looking for the map, you have an opportunity here to find a location. All of this can be linked right from this document that we've prepared for you. It's a real nice resource to have, especially if you're new navigating the homepage and resources. So next I'm going to take you into the trending featured in the connections that are available through the redesign. This is our session, the 19th session this school year with our webinar series. So many of you may have attended previous sessions. We provide this guiding slide here for you with using the tabs because it really gives you information regarding what's trending now, what are those featured dashboards. As you can see, the reports are available to you, just a hyperlink there. You can click in, provide what you're looking for. If you're seeking the parent dashboard, which is the most popular search feature, and then allowing you to actually go in, find out more information about what data you're looking at and representing. If you're, from the counseling hat to the curriculum hat to the CTE or K-12 lens. So moving on to the menu, narrowing in on the top menu bar, Dr. Parker took you through that. So I'm going to go into the main area, which is the dashboard and education focus areas, the early childhood menu, the K-12 grade, student subgroups, post-secondary, and workforce. Below that, we have the personas, which are represented by educators, parents, policymakers, and media. And that's what lays out the basically the homepage of the portal. So next we're going to go into the landing pages. So for illustration purposes, we have post-secondary. We actually go to the post-secondary menu. We click on that and it brings us down to a menu, the landing page for the menu. And under number 2 here, as you can see, all of these landing pages share with you what is most popular, what are the recent updates, and what's upcoming. Then next we have, for example, college data files. Now, as Dr. Parker mentioned, many files that are related to student level data, even staffing data that refers to maybe like teacher evaluations, anything that drills down to an individual level will be required with a secure login. So know that even though about 95% of the portal is public access, there is that window of reports that are only available with the secure user login based on your permissions. Next, in the landing pages, I'm going to share with you the early childhood feature. Again, with the landing page, you will see all of the options below, early childhood program participation, all the way to pathways to kindergarten. You can see that there's hyperlinks within this landing page where you can also access from that pull-down menu. And those sub-menus and sub-pages are available just by a click away. If you have secure user access to the third grade M-STEP scores as an early childhood login, or maybe an elementary principal, you will see that below the pathways to kindergarten on the landing page when you pull that down, and that will tell you if you have access to that particular data. So now we're going to look at the persona landing pages real quickly. This one in particular is created for educators. It really gives you quick and easy access to those features that are available based on the audience that we're targeting. And the spotlighted items, please know that the feedback in promoting this was developed by educators for educators. And this is the data that we felt would be most relevant to this group. So you can see that you have access to the featured dashboards, what reports are available, the state testing reports, and then professional development that would be applicable to educators for the MISchoolData trainings. Then we have, when you're looking at About This report, very similar to what we had in the past with the legacy site, in the inquiry features, you can see you can just click on About This report. It'll give you a description about the report. Those of you that receive the talking points, if you're on that mailing list, you'll notice that when we provide you with recently related reports, a lot of the information that comes from that report is telling you what that report is about and what data is contained. Then you have where we, from that drop-down menu, then you can go into the hamburger menu that allows you to print or download the report. And then you can change that radar button, which is the right at the top there, view by wages or number employed for that particular example. And then you can download any tables as a spreadsheet format in that blue link there. And any reports that are related to student data will follow the same suit as it has in the past. It'll provide an email, and then you'll be able to get access to that report based on how you inquired there. Then we have our pinhole reports. Basically, think of from the old site to the new site. Reports that were prior archived in the legacy site have crosswalked over into the MISchoolData redesigned site. So through that process, they come through a pinhole. The next feature is search. And as Dr. Parker mentioned, it's really like a Google search. If you're looking for a report, you're not familiar where the exact report lands now in the redesign, you can simply go into the search feature, type in that report you're looking for, and it should take you nicely to that area of the portal. And then one of the new features is the compare schools, districts, and ISDs. That was based on, from the field, wanting that feature available. And now you can compare up to 20 locations on a variety of topics. So that's a real nice addition to the portal that was added. And then looking at that 30,000 foot view, think of that from the lens of the dashboards and education focus areas. For example, in November, CEPI added the extended COVID-19 learning dashboard. That was added after the launch of the redesigned site. So again, these are just the overview that you can see from that lens, depending on what focus area you're interested in. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Parker.
All righty, thanks, Dr. Provost. So depending on the lens that you are looking at the data, one might be the parent dashboard. And because of the hats that we wear, there's a lot of us that might be interested in the parent dashboard as a parent, but you also might be looking at the parent dashboard as an educator, because this is the public facing area, and this will be really where a lot of parents dig in to find out a little bit more about their district. The parent dashboard has 5 real main elements. It has a dashboard home, it has a state overview, there's also a search feature to find a school, and there's a contact us and help. And if you are not familiar with the parent dashboard, we're going to dig in lightning speed round fashion. But the reason I bring you here is because as a counselor or curriculum director, you may be dealing with parents. So we begin our tour of the parent dashboard in the first section, which is the dashboard, parent dashboard home. You start by entering your school building or using the map feature, which comes through the other part of the portal. So you can use the map or you can do a basic search. The second part of the parent dashboard is all about state overview. And so using the school district that you are looking for or the building, it'll allow you to look at some of these requirements or these ESSA requirements. The third section of the parent dashboard looks a little bit like the dashboard home, but it actually hones in a little bit deeper. You can use that find a school to search for your school, or you can use the map. And then lastly, there's contact us and the dashboard home. So to get to the heart of what's in the parent dashboard, once you have found a building that you are looking for, you have this, what I like to call a hit. It's the hit of what the information is, kind of like a Google hit. It's the web page for the district that you were searching for, or the school building. It'll give you some basic demographic information. It'll give you some key performance indicators. And at this point, there are 8 of them, but those are growing. But it'll also, on the left-hand side, allow you to look at student, staff, and school information. And this is really where parents spend a lot of time by digging into these side menus on the left-hand side. Now, the reason we bring you here is because as a counselor or a PK20, if you're interested in what your district has to offer, the school services and offerings really is the points of pride for your school district. When you come into school services and offerings, it will show the building, and it will also allow you to sort by different categories. So I'm a parent and I'm curious whether my district has music, or whether this building has AP calculus, or whether this building has career technical ed food service. So the school services and offerings is a great place for you to find out a little more information about your school. You'll notice I've done just a pull out of an example of a school, and I was searching for my advanced placement AP list here. And you'll notice there are all these different categories of ways that I can search based on the school services and offerings. And if you were to come here and say, hey, I don't see our AP Psychology C listed here, Rhonda, can you tell us a little bit about where does CEPI pull this data from for the MISchoolData portal for school services and offerings?
So with the school services and offerings, your education entity master, who is normally a central office designee, updates that in 3 different intervals through the school year. The last collection date was April 8th. The next one is June 30th. And then they'll set one in the fall. So make sure that if you have any changes, even contact information to a building, make sure that you inform your EEM designee at the district level, and they can make those necessary changes. And the window is June 30th. Next collection will be announced in our talking points, and probably in the fall is usually the next collection cycle.
And most parents, because the parent dashboard is the most popular part of the MISchoolData portal, it's really important that your school district have these school services and offerings updated and that they are accurate. So if you're wearing that school hat, make sure you double check what's there for your buildings. The other elements of the parent dashboard that may interest you are the student data sets. And again, I'm on the parent dashboard, so I'm looking through the lens of a parent. You'll see what I can see about students for my building: behavior, performance, progress, graduation, and career and college readiness. I can also look at staff data. And please note, there will never ever be teacher names or staff names listed in the portal, but you will get an average or a ratio for the statistics that are here for staff information, such as teacher years of service or retention or qualifications or certifications. The last couple of things within the dashboard that may be of interest to you are the fact that you can compare by student characteristics or by distance. The first one is by student characteristics. You may be looking at your school building compared to other school buildings that are similar to you in demographic characteristics or makeup, such as similar number of students, similar student to teacher ratio, similar FTEs or amount spent on students. So the student characteristics is a great way for you to go in and make a comparison. And then lastly, sometimes we're curious what's happening in our backyard. You could also compare yourself to other schools that are within a 30-mile radius, so comparing by distance. So with that said, I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to leave the parent dashboard. If anybody has any questions, we're going to leave our parent hat behind. We're going to put our teacher hat back on, or our educator hat back on, and we're going to dig into the K-12 menu. So the K-12 menu is obviously across the top menu bar, not to be confused with the personas. You would go to the K-12 menu and you would see that we have a landing page and we also have submenus here. And the landing page also has your most popular recent updates and upcoming. So all of the menus, you come in, it all has a similar look and feel, but for this one, we're going to focus on the K-12 menu. The K-12 landing page, if you are new to the portal, is probably one of the best places to start your adventure in MISchoolData.org. This has a ton of hyperlinks that are all direct inquiries into more data sets. So if you were looking for student information and you wanted to run student mobility, come to the K-12 landing page, click on the blue link. It will walk you through the process of running that inquiry. If you're looking for career and technical education information, you can go to the CTE section and run those quick inquiries. So the K-12 landing page, just like all the landing pages, are kind of like walking up to the Chinese buffet and deciding, hey, what do we want to eat? Once you come into that K-12 landing page, notice you have some headings, you have the hyperlinks, and you are able to run those reports. So you'll be able to follow up with this slide deck if we're moving too quickly or you want to revisit anything that we've covered. Just to kind of reinforce the fact that there are submenus and there are location settings, we haven't talked about these report inquiry settings yet. So once you come into the K-12 menu and you decide you want to run a student report on student mobility, you are brought into these inquiry settings where they are very simple. You click on the caret, it'll drop it down and you filter down to your building or your school and your grade level or etc. So that is kind of a quick overview of the K-12 menu. Now, I want to dig a little bit deeper by digging into some of those submenus and a little more information about what might interest you as a counselor or a curriculum director or post-secondary connection. So the career technical ed, many of us that are school counselors are very interested in looking at the two-year programs for career and technical ed for our high school juniors and seniors. The CTE section in MISchoolData is extremely robust. It has been being developed over the last at least 5 years. There are a lot of tremendous improvements here in the portal, from finding out about post-secondary awards, tracking those CTE completers, to going on to college to see if they got a 2-year certificate in business management at the high school, and if they actually followed that career path to college. So a lot of great resources here in the career and technical ed area of K-12. Here are just some examples of what those reports would look like. Another great feature, again, continuing the mapping. If you're in the career technical ed and you were interested in if you are moving to a certain part of Michigan and you want to know what career technical ed programs are offered there, this is often a great support for a counselor trying to help parents transfer to a new or with a move. But you can go in here and search by location and find out what career technical ed programs are. You can also just do a massive search throughout the state to find out where they have mechanics or where they have welding or fabrication. So a lot of great ways to search in the career technical ed section. There are several other reports that are spotlighted here, from median wages to awards to some of the career technical ed status with your certificates. I'll end on the fact that there is a really nice summary page for career and technical education. It is kind of like the landing page, but it is, because it's a submenu in K-12, it does not have an official landing page. But if you wear a career tech ed hat, a lot of the very important hyperlinks that we use in career and technical education are listed on this page, and you have direct access. It's often hidden, but we wanted to make sure we spotlighted it here. Alrighty, so I'm going to turn it back to Rhonda, who's going to take us into a few more additional inquiries in K-12.
So as you are navigating the K-12 grade menu and the variety of options, what we'd like to share with you is all of the additional inquiries that are available in the submenus that also can connect to that post-secondary or CTE data. So we're going to share some examples next. First of all, there are 7 reports that are available on the student submenu, and those are listed with the black background here, varying from attendance to additional data files. And again, any data that is secure with student information will always be required as a user to have privileges as a secure login.
And although many of our counselors would have access to a student information system, some of these data sets, such as non-resident enrollment, which would be your schools of choice, or students that are enrolled in non-publics, there's a lot of reports here in the student menu that you might not have access to in your student information system.
Then next we have with state testing. Now, I know that we do not have any 2020 MSTEP, PSAT, any of our testing in there. However, with the data that we do have available in the portal, there is still historical data that crosswalked over from the legacy site, and these data sets are still available. For example, college readiness, our MSTEP history and archives, high school state testing, professional learning resources, what are the student growth measures, students that were not tested, and the top 30, bottom 30 analysis. So all of these crosswalked, even though we didn't have state testing in 2020. And then the following 3 reports are for the English learner submenu. And these are also available with the hat that you wear based on your permissions, if you're looking at, the assessment data and such. So this is all now provided in the K-12 grade area. And I don't think we talked about, oh, here it is, special ed. I was just going to mention special ed. Those are available now within the K-12 grade menu bar. In the past, special ed was separated, but when you really think of special education, it's a service that a child receives, not a place. And so it's all contained in the K-12 menu now. And you can see from annual reporting to those data portraits. And I know that we have some data that is in preview right now for special education until May 12th. So if you have access to that, you can preview your data right now with your secure login. And then the post-secondary reports by high school. Within this submenu, there are 6 reports available, and they range from on-track college progress all the way to the post-secondary trends by high school file. So your submenu, post-secondary reports, and then it will populate all of those reports that you can access from that area. And they range from quite a few. And as Jen said, those reports have really, there's an abundance of reports that are now available, and tracking that cradle to career. Next, we're going to move into student subgroups real quickly. With the student subgroups, that does have its own area on the menu bar in the portal. And if you can click to the next slide. Within the main menu, you could access student subgroups. It also allows you to learn more about those different backgrounds. And I think we used an example earlier in the portal when you were at the parent dashboard, how you might look at a category for maybe early middle college, or is early middle college available? Well, within these subgroups, there are just a tremendous amount of combination reports that are available from this menu. So you can range from early middle college, you can look at race and ethnicity, you can look at homeless, English learners, students with disabilities. There's a host of all of these reports that are available and accessible by clicking those links that you see right here. We just gave you a bigger snapshot of it. So with that, I'm going to turn the post-secondary area back over to Jen, and she will take us through post-secondary.
All righty. And I'll encourage everybody on the call today, if you have questions, you can throw those in the chat box. We are going to try to go live to the site at the end of today's broadcast, but we encourage you to jot down your questions, thoughts, and ideas in the chat. So we are going to take our journey here to the post-secondary level. So post-secondary is really an area of the portal that was designed for higher education. If you are wearing the lens of a dean of instruction, or a college professor, or someone who is handling admissions, the post-secondary really is a great place for you to come to look at where are students enrolling in your university from, or in your community college. What are some of the programs, or what are some of the remedial coursework that is required? Sometimes we have students that come in and are not quite ready for prime time and need to take some remedial coursework. This is a way for you to look at kind of the trends in the student population that come to you. So post-secondary starts out with a landing page, and it's just like the K-12 landing page or any of the landing pages, with all of these beautiful blue hyperlinks that are a great Chinese buffet of options for you to pick and choose, click the link, and run the inquiry. Now, I make it sound really simple, but believe me, it is pretty slick. It works very well, and it's very quick to find the information that you need. So the landing page is a great one-stop shop. The second section, or second submenu within the post-secondary, is all about college reports by college and university. So you could look for degrees or certificates that were awarded, or the college transfer rates from your community college to where they're headed, or you could also look at enrollment or some success rates or tuition and fees to compare. So there are a lot of really important information here with regard to post-secondary, if that's the lens that you wear. This college degrees and certificates awarded is actually a download. Sometimes when you come into the portal, they do not allow you to use the inquiry features or the drop down. Many times there are just spreadsheets that are loaded here as data sets. So don't be surprised if you do come to something like college degrees and certificates and you see a spreadsheet posted. And there are other different unique features throughout the portal. Sometimes it is in the data representation. So you'll see, for example, here we've got a variety of views, from either a table to a trend or a stack bar graph, or etc. So this is just an example of all colleges statewide and the snapshot report that you could run for that. Here is an example of those inquiry items that we've mentioned previously. And I'll give you a tip and a trick that when you have the inquiry box that pops up and you have an opportunity to further filter your inquiry, in the top right-hand corner here is a little caret, and sometimes it will contract and expand. So you'll want to make sure if that is available, you expand it so that you have all of your inquiry settings. The other piece I will mention is many times you need to double check that you have clicked on that blue update report button so that your inquiry launches. So just a couple of tips and tricks as you're using these inquiry boxes. This is an example of the college transfer inquiry settings. Another with college undergraduate graduate enrollment, etc. Here is another page that reminds me a lot of the Career and Technical Ed hidden landing page. This post-secondary data inventory has actually got a tremendous amount of hyperlinks for you to access, as well as additional resources that are direct connections. The success rate summary is also available. You'll notice when you come here, you've got 3 tabs. Sometimes people will stop at the summary and they don't realize that these are 2 other tabs that also have information from the data report itself to actually the data file access. So don't forget those and don't miss those. And here are just some examples of those success rates and some of the data downloads. Last couple of places on the post-secondary tour, we often have conversations about what are the comparisons between tuition and fees with our community colleges or our higher education universities. You are able to go in and search for tuition and fees. And this is not only helpful if you are in the post-secondary hat, but also parents may be interested in knowing this. And if you are a high school counselor, you may be interested in sharing this information with your parents. If you're doing a financial aid night or a college and career night, this tuition and fees spot in the MISchoolData portal under post-secondary is a nice little feature. There is a connection between post-secondary and K-12. You will notice when you are in the K-12 menu, there is a post-secondary section. And when you're in post-secondary, there's a high school section. So what you're trying to do is you're wearing your post-secondary hat and you're looking back to the high schools that are sending you students with that lens on the learning. So you may be interested in where your students are coming to you in higher education from, what high schools are sending you the most students, the college remedial coursework. Perhaps you want to dig in deeper to find out of your freshman class that came from a certain geographic area. Maybe they're struggling with their English or writing exam. Maybe those are conversations that you need to have. So there's a lot of data here to connect the high school to the post-secondary, and we encourage you to check out those post-secondary reports. The on-track college progress will allow you to take a look and see if a student is on track to graduate in 4 years at the in higher ed. Sometimes they take 5 or 6 or more. This is an inquiry report that allows you to run that and find out how many students are on track to graduate. And then college enrollment destination. So this one allows you to see which colleges Michigan high school students are attending. And that is a statewide report that is very nice to see. And lastly, college progression by graduating class. How are they doing when they move through the post-secondary success of these high school students? How are they doing? So I've shown you just several examples of the different ways that the data displays. You'll see here is an example of the table format as well as the graph format that is across the top. And so as you're moving through, you'll see lots of different ways that data is described. You'll also have an opportunity to change the view of the data set. And oftentimes in these graphs, you can click on the different legends and it will change the view of the report. And lastly, I think I will bring you to the data files, because if you are a K-12 educator interested in what's happening with your students, you may be interested in their college and career readiness or their success rates by looking at some post-secondary trends. And these are files that are downloaded. I know that Dr. Provost mentioned earlier, depending on your privileges or permissions in the site, you will possibly have access to these, but you can see the high school graduation rates and their post-secondary trends. These are in the post-secondary as a data download. And here is the college data file example right here. And those are all available for you based on your permissions. And lastly, I want to bring you back to the student data file by high school, because there are a couple of different ways for you to download data files. If you are a high school counselor, you may be interested in looking at it from a post-secondary lens or from a high school lens. Don't miss the two tabs here. Here is the data file by high school and then by Michigan College or University. So this data file downloads, it depends, your inquiries depend on which tab you are in, so don't miss that. The other piece I'll share with you is this share button up here in the top right-hand corner is often a great way for you to grab a hyperlink and share it with other colleagues that may be interested in the same information, or maybe you need it for a staff meeting or for maybe some data dialogue. So the share button is here for any of these inquiries that you run. All righty, I'm going to take us back to Rhonda, before we do our closing. What questions do we have before I take them live to the site and before we do our closing? Any questions or comments in the chat box before we go live?
Once you have a My Login account and have requested access to MISchoolData from within MISchoolData, please be sure that contact your ISD technical contact. Okay, that was, please be sure to contact your ISD contact. It was just a reminder.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any others.
Okay. Well, I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes on a lightning speed round of the live site. You guys will notice that I am signed in. Here is the dashboard and education focus area. Again, this is the menu bar across the top. We've looked at the dashboard. We've looked at K-12, subgroups, post-secondary. We did not spend any time in workforce, and I will take us there here shortly. But I'm going to begin by going into the dashboard and education focus area. This is a great 30,000 foot view. Again, any of these hyperlinks will take you directly there. This is a great resource. It's a landing page. The early childhood menu, you will see that, let me see here if I can get myself logged in. Logged me out. When I come to my early childhood, you'll see this is what Dr. Provost was talking about, third grade assessment outcomes. Often as a elementary counselor, you are interested in looking back at your early childhood programs, Head Start, Great Start, etc., and you're interested in looking at their third grade assessment profile. So this is an opportunity for you to connect from third grade backwards in time, and these are to the program level and to the student level. So without permission, you would not see this. If this is something that you are interested in, you need to reach back to your ISD and ask them to enable that permission for you. The K-12 menu, again, I will remind you that the K-12 landing page is like your Chinese buffet. All of these inquiries, I'm going to run just a quick inquiry to show you how those inquiries pop up. I'm going to go to, let's go to graduation and dropout rate as an inquiry. Again, my inquiry pops up. Here are the little carrots that I was talking about, how they expand and collapse. Right now, it automatically ran an inquiry and gave me a table here. I can change from snapshot to trend to entity breakdown, which is a really nice feature. Notice that I've got a table now instead of a graph. And I also have an opportunity to download or print this information. Now, I could just go ahead and search for an ISD and search for a school district. I think I will go down and pick something that I know about. I'll pick one of my districts in my ISD. And if I were interested in finding just a specific building, I'll just pick one of my high school buildings. And notice I could use the compare feature. Dr. Provost mentioned that I could compare this high school to up to 20 other entities. Could be students in a similar geographic area, or someone that has similar characteristics to me, or even compare several ISD worth of high school students or high schools. I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to go into compare. I'm going to go with all students, and I am going to go with all rate years, and I'm going to update my report. And it's as simple as that. The inquiry settings are very friendly. They allow you to just filter down your inquiry request, and there we go. And it is spinning just a little bit. Another feature that I like about the new redesigned site is the tracking of the breadcrumb trail to remind me where I was and what my inquiry settings were. I know we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our continuous improvement teams who have been talking about how they like the new navigation features. So there is the information that I just ran. You'll notice that I have a student breakdown radial button now, radar button. And because I have permissions, I'm able to see the students within this district. Sometimes you do not see the student breakdown. So that is all about permissions, and you guys need to double check if you do not see those when you were digging into some of your data sets. I am going to come back into the K-12 menu. I'm going to leave the student count. I wanted to mention that there are some other pieces that Dr. Provost talked through. The English learner data, such as your WIDA scores. I know our counselors often look at the ELL and look at the WIDA scores. You also may be looking at state testing. And here are some post-secondary reports by high school. So I want to know if where my students are going in college enrollment destination. It should remember what school I ran my inquiry. If I need to update those report settings, I can. But for right now, it should remember that I was looking at Chippewa Valley schools. And I'm going to see all college levels, in-state and out-of-state, public and independent, enrollment within 6 months, and the initial enrollment. And I'm going to go ahead and update my report. It'll go out and spin for a minute and look for my information. And I like this one because it does give me a nice snapshot of where the students are choosing to go away to school. I often like to look at the community college information because you'll see that here in our county, we've got we've got a wonderful relationship with our community college here in our county. And a lot of our students definitely take advantage of that. So those are the most popular school and college enrollments, post-secondary enrollments for the Chippewa Valley High School that I ran as my example. So I just really love that report. I think it tells a lot about your district. You'll also see right here that I changed now some of my other options. I don't see a student listing here, but I see a data explorer. And this is another great feature of the portal. When you come into the data explorer, you have these little filters. And let's say I am looking for a percentage of all college enrollments. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking for here, but greater than, I'm pulling this out of the sky, and we'll just greater than, and I'll just say run it. And it filters those features. So if you get a chance to use the Data Explorer within any of your data sets, it's a great resource, and it is out there. All righty, I'm going to leave the post-secondary by high school. I'm going to bring us into career and technical education, and I'm going to go to CTE programs offered. I think this is a terrific place to go if you're a career tech ed or if you're a high school counselor. I want to know where, probably I'm very familiar with career and technical ed in my county or in my school district or the resources that I have, but this is often a nice place to come to find out what everybody else has. So I'm going to just search by program. I also think that this would be a great resource on the parent dashboard. And you'll just see here that I am interested in, I'll go with Army, ROTC. Who has Army and ROTC? Here it hones in on the map and it shows me where those programs are offered. So I know I am totally impressed with that. I just think it's fabulous. The K-12 career technical ed, there's so many resources in there, so many great opportunities to run reports and dig into CTE data. If that is a hat you wear, I encourage you to dig in. The other couple of things here in K-12, again, we mentioned school data files that you can download. You can look at staffing information. There's never a connection to names in our staffing information. And then there's also a link to the financial dashboard. So if you are interested in anything, perhaps you wear a school business official's hat, there are a lot of school and district financial information listed here in the K-12 menu. And a great place to start would be the financial transparency dashboard. That dashboard for the district actually will provide you with an overview several times. It's like a 5-year trend, but it will give you a snapshot of the financial performance for that district. So that is the financial transparency dashboard. All right. I'm going to skip over to student subgroups. We showed you the several student subgroups that you can dig into. If you are a counselor and you are trying to pull information on just your economically disadvantaged or just your early middle college statistics, this is a good place to come and view the reports and run the inquiries. Again, I know that some of the information here is more readily available in your student information system, but some of this information is not. So I would encourage you to check out student subgroups. I'm going to skip next to the workforce part of our portal because we did not hit this in our slide deck, but I wanted to bring you into the workforce landing page, which I think is a fabulous place for every high school teacher to bring students who are looking at what are they going to do with the rest of their lives. The entry-level wages over time, median wages, career technical ed status, these are great reports that you can have the students run because this is on the public side of the portal to get more information about the status of work and the workforce in your geographic area. So those are some great resources. I'm going to go into generate the report for entry-level wages. And obviously, we know that it isn't rocket science, that folks that have, the more degreed you are, the more, the higher the earnings level or potential that you have. But these are the hardcore numbers. They are tracked over time. You'll notice that the last data that was loaded was 1819, but I do know that those are coming in soon. You could also change from wages to number employed, and that will also give you some numbers. So these are some great resources if you're working with high school students trying to make some career decisions. What does the workforce look like, and what can you expect to make? And so with that said, that is a quick overview of our menu bar and the connections. I will bring us back to the homepage of MISchoolData, and I'm going to take us quickly into the 4 personas. And then I will, if there are any questions that are coming in, I know Rhonda and Christy will shoot them out to me, but I'm going to start here in the persona page on educators. A persona is the way that you look at the data. So if I'm looking at the data as an educator, there are certain things in the portal that I am more interested in. These are listed on the homepage of the educator persona. So what you see here, I know Dr. Provost mentioned it earlier, these are what educators said they wanted to see on their educator persona page because these are the quick links to information that they need. We often point our continuous improvement folks to this page, this and the K-12 landing page, because this is a great one-stop shop for you to run some quick inquiries. And you see here that some of the student testing report, these are all hyperlinked for you just to click and run the inquiry. No digging around, it's right there. The parent persona looks a little bit different than the parent dashboard, but it does bring you to the parent dashboard. It is linking to the parent dashboard. It allows you to use that map feature to search, and it gives you some common questions that parents are interested in or common inquiries that they're interested in here in the portal. So that is the parent persona. The policymakers persona was designed with our state legislators in mind. These are many of the key questions that legislators were asking of the Center for Education Performance and Information. And so what they did is they created a page on MISchoolData with the legislators' hat in mind. And here are the common inquiries or the common policymaker inquiries listed here. So how many children participate in early childhood, to attendance, to some other things. So it's often interesting to me to see what are those top policymaker questions with regard to each of these tabs to find out what do they want to know about us. And then lastly, under the persona is the media. The media section here is if you are wearing a newspaper media, magazines, journal, etc. If you're writing for the media, these are popular media requests for data and information that come into CEPI. And so they have created a media persona where you can directly link to these inquiries and generate them yourself as a media person and have them at your fingertips. And as you'll know, the parents, policymakers, and media, all of those personas are not someone who would have a login on MISchoolData. And so all the information that is there is publicly available. So with that said, I will bring us back to our closing, and I will turn it over to Dr. Provost to take us into the end of our session.
I'm just going to point out, when you talked about the media and the reports that are applicable to them, that is why we communicate what has been recently released on the portal so that you have a heads up that these reports are going to be in the public view in advance so that you can get ahead of maybe the media, because I know the media, when they collect this information, they're ready to run write a report on it for public release immediately. So just keep in tune with our communications that are sent out, either on behalf of CEPI or our monthly talking points, so that you are in the know and can get ahead of these opportunities. All right, so that ends our session for today. We hope that this has probably been one of the largest content broadcasts that we've done this year, honing in on these particular areas of curriculum, counseling, and post-secondary. We hope that we were able to cover all of the areas that you needed. It was a nice feature to have the live site available also for today's training. So as you reflect on the educator persona, the dashboard and education focus areas, the K-12 grade menu, and the student subgroups, please know that this PowerPoint or slide deck is available for your use as you are continuing to train in your own local area. Following up with the regional advisory members, if you need further training on any of the content from today or other areas of the portal, you have regional representation across the state that can also provide you assistance as needed. Our professional learning opportunities are available all the time. I mean, we're always creating new content. We have our webinar series, which is concluding. However, we do have all 19 of these content areas archived and are available on the YouTube channel on behalf of Macomb ISD. We have links in the bottom left-hand corner for these resources, so please feel free to reach out where you feel it's applicable to your area of need. Following our sessions, our administrative assistant provides these, as I mentioned, on the YouTube channel. We have links here. We also have the link at the top of the slide to allow you to see the cadre of sessions that we've hosted this year. Also in March, we launched the EduPass courses. These are navigations for the MISchoolData redesign. There are 4 lessons. You can register, first log into EduPass, and then you can register at that live link that's at the bottom of the slide here. If you are interested in obtaining sketchies for today's session, if you can click on this unique session attendance, we will ask that you complete your last name, first name, email, district. There's a couple questions there, reflection questions from attending today, and then download the PDF, which is your sketchy application form. You will complete that, sign it, and then return it to Angie Churio, achurio@misd.net, and she will process that for you within the next 30 days. For more information regarding any of our MISchoolData resources, you can visit MISchooldata.org or visit the Professional Development Toolkit. And that is evolving every month. If you want to learn more about what resources we have available, please feel free to check the website frequently. Any questions for technical issues, please contact CEPI Help Desk. Their email is listed. For login, my third-party accounts, you can visit the My Login help page, and that will guide you through the process or next steps to obtain your login status. If you have any related to permissions or usage with your login, you would follow up with your ISD technical contact. We have the link built in there for all 56 ISDs in the state so that you have a quick reference to that contact. And then any questions related to the Train the Trainer network can follow up with Dr. Jennifer Parker at Macomb ISD or Kathleen Miller representing Shiawassee RESD. On behalf of our team from the Professional Development ISD partners, we thank you for attending today, and we will stay on. I'm going to turn off the recording, and if there's any other questions or dialogue you'd like to have, we're here to help you. Thank you and have a great evening.